The unforeseen consequences of recent pensions legislation, initially supported on all sides of this House, are now resulting in very worrying consequences for the NHS, as hospital doctors who've regularly worked weekend overtime in order to get waiting lists down are understandably refusing to continue to do so because they are being made worse off as a result. Can we imagine the conversation between couples along the lines of, "So you're leaving me and the children again this weekend to go voluntarily to work to make our family worse off"? It's not going to happen, is it? The same applies for GPs, many of whom are now doing less sessions each week than they want to and patients desperately need in order not to be made worse off by breaching their annual pension allowance. We don't have conscription for healthcare staff. We can't force them to do weekend overtime or more sessions than they want to, and it's not surprising that they choose not to if they're being made worse off as a result. For example, in this morning's Guardian, we learned of one senior anaesthetist who worked 27 Saturdays last year in order to reduce waiting lists, and has now said he can't afford to work any extra Saturday shifts this year, because it would give him a large tax bill he cannot afford to pay. Now, very few doctors have actual earnings that exceed the adjusted income threshold of $150,000, but due to the inclusion of hypothetical pension growth as income, doctors are being affected by tapering. And this is different to what the Chancellor said in Treasury Questions on the 21st of May, when he said that someone has to be earning over $150,000 a year before the tapered annual allowance affects them. Taxable income and adjusted income are very different as regards pensions taxation. Now, the government should also be aware that members of the imposed 2015 pension scheme had no option but to become a member of multiple schemes, including the GP care scheme, and as a result incur significantly higher annual allowance tax bills than those members who are protected members in only the final salary scheme. This means that all full-time consultants who are members of more than one NHS pension scheme will be affected by the tapered annual allowance and will need to reconsider how much work they do for the NHS to mitigate these tax charges. Furthermore, this punitive pensions tax penalty means that doctors are not just working less, they're retiring earlier than they'd like to in order to avoid significant additional tax charges. And in a survey of more than 2,400 consultants, more than half cited pensions taxation as a reason for their decision to retire early. So 5 questions, if I may, to the Chief Secretary. As the 50-50 pensions accrual option proposed doesn't remove the unintended consequences that are forcing doctors to reduce the workload they do, can this be included in the consultation so that this issue is raised? Once the scope of the consultation has been extended to cover this essential aspect, can it then be launched as quickly as possible? Can the consultation be brief, as the issues are well known and well rehearsed? And can the government then respond quickly to it and, if necessary, legislate, given there's likely to be cross-party support for these important measures to protect the NHS? Fourthly, can timely pension statements be provided to all NHS staff who are affected by these measures? And finally, can the government confirm that it understands the urgency and importance of this issue and that it will act without delay to prevent a deteriorating situation from getting even more acute?